Hey guys, welcome back to Cobra Vids. This is the moment you've all been waiting for. Another F150 video. And we got it coming right at you. A while back I ordered what I hope is the correct axles, because the front axles in my truck are all worn out. I want to say this is the one for the driver's side. I might be wrong. And also in here we got, they don't say Motorcraft on them, and they're made in China, so I don't think these are OEM, but once we open them up and start looking at them, they look just like the F-150 lug nuts. At least I sure hope they are, because that's one thing I was waiting for to do this job, is these lug nuts. Because if you've seen on my other videos, some jackass has rounded them all out because they put the wrong socket on there. They really screwed up the lug nuts. Alright, so I'm going to go get a socket that fits this properly, because it didn't come with one. Alrighty guys, the size for these sockets are 13/16. That fits in there beautifully. That's an impact socket, so this is going to be what we're going to use to pull off the old plugs and put these new ones on, or plugs, lug nuts. Okay, so we'll set all these aside because we're going to need those in just a little while once we get the work done to it. So okay, we've got an axle for the driver's side, and we also have one for the passenger side, but we don't have the lower control arm for the passenger side yet. And that's what this big bad boy right here should be. I haven't even opened it up. I trust eBay way too much. Let's see what kind of damage we got. Looks like the box is beat to hell. Typical for FedEx.
2 hours later.
Stay there. Alright guys, here's a little bit of information that might help you. The F-150 has a couple different lower control arms. This was kind of an interesting one. There's two different types that I could see that was used on the 2013 and similar year F-150s. But mine has the bottom of the strut goes right here. Okay, and there's some others that mount like off to the side here with bolts going straight down, but mine mounts in here with the bolt through here. So when you're ordering one, be very careful in what you're ordering so that you get the right part. Okay, so the only thing left is get the truck in. Alrighty guys, as I am doing this, if there is something that you miss or don't catch, please stop me so I can go. Well, that won't work. The socket that actually fits on these old lug nuts won't even go on, so we're going to have to get them out the way that I did before, and that's with the socket that barely fits. Well, I pulled the tire off, and I stuck the tire outside. I hope the rain don't hurt it. Just looking at that, it's like I'm going to have to reopen this thing up very soon and do a brake job. Maybe got 20,000 miles left if I'm lucky. Alrighty, so we need to get the tie rod off, get the stabilizer, dog bone as I call it, off. Might have to get out the impact for some of these. I started off pretty easily. My tie rod puller is not big enough, so I got one more thing to try. This tool here is a pitman arm tool, but it might work in a pinch. Here's a pickle fork, and to hopefully avoid pinching the boot, I'm going to lube it up. I'm going to lube up the fork. Hopefully this will help keep from damaging the boot, but I highly doubt it, guys. It might be pretty good. Oh man, I busted my nail. God damn it. What happened when you do manly things? You hurt yourself in a manly way. There's a little hub cap for the nut that holds the axle into the hub. Hubcap. Oh, great. This is one I did not want to tear up. I just replaced these upper control arms. There we go, that was easy. But that's how you use these guys. Alright, so all the control arm is doing is just resting on my jack. Let's get this ball joint out of there. Okay. The anti-lock brake cable and stuff like that. Alrighty guys, so if you know me, I try to do things the simple way, but sometimes you just got to do it the hard way. Due to the fact that I couldn't get this out far enough, the anti-lock brake sensor, I couldn't get it to come out far enough without damaging the cable. I went ahead and decided, okay, we'll just pull off the brakes, the caliper bracket, the rotor, and the dust shield here. And we're going to just remove this sensor so we can pull the knuckle completely off of the truck so that it makes it easier. Sometimes easier is harder and harder is easier. If that makes sense to you, then you know exactly what you're doing. What I'm going to do is finish getting this off, and then I'm going to pull this out here, and that's just a Allen screw. So we just pull this out here, and then once I release the lower ball joint, I should be able to pull this knuckle out. And something else is it gives us a good opportunity to see what this bearing is like. And this hub bearing feels really nice. Okay guys, I got this ball joint loose, but look how I had to go into it, okay? So if you're having a problem getting a pickle fork in there, that is how you do it. You come from, I would imagine this is side because that's front, that's rear. But anyway, just stick your pickle fork through that little opening right there and just hit it a few times and you'll get it. I got it. Alright, so now theoretically all I have to do is remove the rest of this nut down here, and this knuckle should be off. Alright guys, this is a perfect time to inspect your seal. The seal is very gushy. It's almost like there was some work done on this in the past. This does not look like 240,000 miles. When you're working on it, be very careful of these vacuum ports here. What I'm going to do next is I am going to work on getting this axle out of here so that when I undo this and these bolts here, I'm going to support this up here out of the way as well. Much easier. So pulling this all apart, yes, it takes a lot of time. It's a little harder, but it's going to make it easier. And eventually I would like to change these struts, but right now the struts seem fine. I don't get no unusual bouncing or anything, so the struts are still good. Okay guys, as you can see, I've got the axle out, no drippage. I was surprised. There's always a little bit of drippage, but it might be because I have the side jacked up, throwing it all that way. Okay, I got the tie rod tied up. I got the caliper tied up. I got the anti-lock brake cable safe, and now we've got the control arm. Now, this is something very important, guys. You can see that this is pretty much solid. I'm not thinking that the bushings are bad. I'm just thinking that the ball joint is bad, and with this bashing around, and when I lift it up and down, I can feel it moving. So, all right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to work on busting these nuts and bolts loose. Alrighty guys, I just want to step in here and tell you the sizes of these bolts. The outer one is a 1 1/16. That's the best fitting one. That's the nut. And the bolt head is a 22. Those are the best fitting ones. I'm sure there's a metric one for this one, but the 1 1/16 fit the best. It was nice and snug, and it did the job just fine. So all that's left is to remove this bolt here and this one on this side, and then the control arm come out. We're going to do a quick comparison and then get this thing going back together. Alrighty guys, side-by-side comparison. You can see that the strut hole is in the right place. This hole is in the right place. Ball joint's in the right place. We got the spacers are all good. So I already stacked it on top of it, and it looks perfect. Okay, so it's back on. I had to beat it a little bit to get it in place, but it is snug in there. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we've got them tightened down in the areas where the bolts were before. I know that's not perfect, but it's going to have to ride for right now. We'll be getting it aligned very soon. So right now, I use my jack to mark where the height, because you don't want to mount your control arms like this, and then when you put everything back together, you're tweaking those bushings into place, because you're going to be twisting them and they're going to be riding like that, and you're going to crack them within the first 1,000 miles. They're going to be cracked and you're going to be doing this again. So you always want to find, before you undo these, as long as your bushings are not bad. If your bushings are bad, this is not going to work. But the bushings were good, the ball joint was bad, so it was still in here pretty solid. So where it was set, I went ahead and brought my jack up and support it. So when I put the new one in here, I just rested it on there, put the bolts in, tighten it up. Alrighty guys, so we got the strut in. I would put the strut in before you tighten up the stabilizer dog bone, okay? You all know why I call it dog bone, right? That's my term, not the mechanic's term. We got the bolt for the strut in. It's all nice and tight. We got this started. We haven't got that in there yet. I want to jack it up a little bit before we fully engage that one. But yeah, so we got the new axle in. I had to get a piece of wood and stick it on the lip and pound it in there to get it to pop all the way in there. But now all we got to do is put this 14 millimeter, whatever it was. I think it's 13. Put that back in there and get it all tightened up so the axle is where it should be. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, it's back together. We got the brakes on. We cleaned up the rotor a little bit. We greased up our brake pads so that they're not going to be squeaking on this side at least. And we got everything back on together. One thing is when I put the... So, alrighty guys, all that's left is to put the wheel back on it and go take it for a ride. Show you my new lug nuts once I get those on. Alright guys, we got all the brand new lug nuts on. They went on beautifully. The socket didn't get stuck on them like the old ones. And this truck goes down to 100 or up to 150 pounds of torque for these lug nuts. That's a huge amount of torque. But they all went in great, and because these are new lug nuts, probably after a few miles of driving, I'll probably come back through and re-tighten those just to make sure. Alrighty guys, well I forgot to grab the camera when I went for my test drive, but I just want to tell you that it ran great. This side is rock solid, there's no noise coming out of it. The passenger side is still clunking when I go over bumps. If you want to know any of the parts I used to repair my F-150, go ahead and leave those questions in the comments below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Until next time, guys, stay safe, stay free, and get your work done.